What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to Two
What's
Young
good?
Cast. My name is Elijah. I am joined with the amazing Jajuan Sanders. We're two young pastors, and we just talk about what it means to live in a pastoral lifestyle. I kind of just demystifying it a little bit for everyone watching and tuning in. Jajuan, man, we've been throwing out a bunch of content recently. We started our new Instagram page, bro.
Mhm.
We're I'm excited because I got some great feedback for it, bro. But that's just here happening on the podcast. How are you feeling? How has your week been? Because it's been a while since we had our last episode recording.
Yeah, man. It's good to see you. Always good to see you, man. And feeling good. Feeling
Mhm.
good. Lots of transitions coming up on the horizon. And we're at that stage in life where family is taking the next step. Me
Yeah.
and Janelle just finished pre-engagement counseling. So
Hey.
proposals coming soon. Proposal is
Yes,
coming.
sir.
And so, dude, I just want to say that it's hitting that we're about to like really start our own family,
Hmm.
um and it feels really good. It feels really good, and I don't know, I can't explain the feeling. All I can tell you is that like it really does feel like we are we're more here, more than ever. Um and so yeah, that doesn't mean that like things are perfect. We still have disagreements and things like that, but things are good. Things are good. And we're also getting ordained. I
Yeah.
think we can finally say it, since other people have been saying it, and
For us.
announcing
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
it. They've been announcing it and proclaiming it to different pastors, to different churches. And still don't really know what it means.
That's it.
I'm joking. I know it's a big honor.
Yeah.
And it's a milestone. It's a milestone, or a milestone. And I'm really happy that it's a milestone that we can indeed um participate in. So
Yeah.
feeling good, man. Feeling good. How are you?
I'm
And
good,
what's new?
man. Yeah. I mean, you kind of broke not broke the ordination news, but you kind of shared it officially with our listeners.
Hmm.
Outside of that, it has been a pretty decent year. Like nothing crazy happening, nothing wild happening. I did go and get my physical at the beginning of this year after
Okay.
like COVID and everything else, and the doctor kind of broke some news, and she's like, "Hey, man, your metabolism is not where it used to be, and you gotta." Your diet has to change, your exercise thing has to change. And I was like, hey, like I was good. Right, and she said, "Hey, you're getting to be a little wider." And then she said, you're you're Indian and you're South Asian, and because of that, our bodies react differently uh, to uh, to food. So she said, you might be okay and see the general numbers and say, "Hey,
Yeah.
like, I'm okay because this is what the general population looks like." And she said, "Nah, like you
Sheesh.
and she's South Asian too. So like she said me and you have to take that general number and then take it down a few numbers. So like if we're like, hey, a good BMI is around like what, like 24, 23, she said, you and I have to come down two numbers. So our BMI for us to be in a healthy range is like 22, 21. And then I was like, what? And she said, that's just because we process food differently than everybody else. And
Mhm.
that I think is kind of in every, I think, people group where, we all kind of process food differently. And that's okay. But she said, you have to be mindful that you're paired with your family history and then paired with your food intake and paired with your lifestyle, they all kind of come together to 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 make up who you are, and you really have no decision on where you came from. And that's like 50, maybe a bit more weighted. on top of your lifestyle and on top of what you eat. So that shows she broke that news to me like in February. And then I got my blood work back, and then she called me. She's like, "Hey, we have to be back up in May, because you're young, and if we're able to kind of change some things now, you won't have any problems in the future." So she kind of
That's good.
walk through that right now. So that's where I am right now, fixing my diet. I have a sweet tooth, man, and I love my cheesecake. I love my Cheesecake Factory. Like
Yeah.
I do not care that people say that it is not a good first place to go on a date.
Mhm.
I love Cheesecake Factory. Like like if you don't if we can't vibe at a Cheesecake Factory, it was never.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that the gender wars people are the only individuals who say that, which lets you know that you should not watch the Andrew Tates and the did I is his name Andrew Tate? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
it is
It
okay.
is, yeah.
Who else? The Schultz people.
But it wasn't just them though, bro. There were like actually like other female influencers that were like, I am high valued, and Cheesecake Factory does not value who I am and what I bring to the table.
Like hearing high valued, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That is a Kevin Samuels, like that's a Kevin Samuels term. And so if a woman is saying that she's a high value woman, then that means that she's watched like Kevin Samuels content. And
yeah,
that is like he's a part of the manosphere,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like at least and let's be he's a part of the black manosphere. Like
That,
there's a difference
I see what
between
you mean. Yeah,
the regular manosphere and the black manosphere, right? But like that in itself, it just breeds toxicity. It
it
just
does.
breeds toxicity.
It
And
does.
so, you know, I think the point stands that like if a person is coming to you off that type of energy, it means that they're not like coming from a good place anyway. They're not coming from a good
No,
place anyway.
no,
So,
no.
but that's
And
not something that we got to worry about, bro. Like we're both spoken for, so we're good.
yeah,
We're
like
good.
I love that like Lee and I like we both love Cheesecake Factory.
Mhm.
Like we both like it cuz we both like cheesecake. So like I called her like, "Hey babe, you know, I'm up on the way uh to Baltimore. I could stop by and pick up something and then meet you at your place, right?" And then she's like, do you want to use that as an excuse to come see me or do you want to like I was just like, "Dang."
Found you out, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But outside of that, man, like life's been good. You know, have some projects here and there that we're working on either together as a team or individually, man. But talking about some things online, bro, like what have you been seeing? I know that, you know, we're you've been taking a break on social media though, is or on Instagram.
So yeah, like I kind of sort of find myself on Facebook more than Instagram.
Pause.
Um,
How old are you?
I'm 29. I'm 29. I'm 29. Um, but I like I'm on there more because you can read more. You read more. You know, it's less pictures and more like people posting like these long posts. And I can read a good long post. You know what I'm saying? Um,
I guess.
and but and so I'm not like on Facebook like all the time. I'm not on there all the time. That just lets you know, like if I do get on, like if I do get on something, if I tap, it's just like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
But really, I think I've talked about this before. YouTube is my thing. YouTube is my thing. All
yeah.
right. And so what have I been like looking at? What I've been seeing? If it's YouTube, I've really been into like my leftist bag recently,
Mm,
because I'm really trying to learn how to mobilize and get more involved in community building, because I really do want to be involved.
mhm,
I want to make a difference as much as possible. Within the Black community and to support other marginalized groups,
mhm,
regardless of race, economic class, sexual orientation. I support marginalized people and marginalized groups. And so I've really been in that bag. really paying attention to like a lot of the stuff that's been happening with the current administration.
Mm.
And in addition, two things came up. One, I'm gonna speak to it, and I know that you told me that you were thinking about something as well. Oakwood University recently invited Umar
Mm.
Johnson, to come and speak. And you probably didn't know this, but there was such an uproar. Like so many alumni were judging,
Behind the
like
scenes?
no, like
Or just like
on Facebook, like
oh, right, right. Yeah, yeah,
on
because they're on
Facebook.
Facebook. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So like I just opened Facebook one day, right? And
yeah.
I probably opened Facebook because it allows me to I use Facebook because that's where I really see like a lot of my old classmates. I don't
Mhm.
post that much of anything except for like church comment content, but like it really allows me to really just see what's going on with my alma mater, right?
Yeah.
And so I saw that they were inviting Umar Johnson, um, and people were just judging. Now, if you don't know Umar Johnson, Umar is what some individuals will call a hotep. Um, and the word hotep, at least in the Black community over the past 5 to 10 years, has really accumulated like a negative connotation. And Umar Johnson specifically, he's popular because he like vehemently um he is truly against what's this word, interracial dating.
Yeah.
um he
Yeah.
he does not support interracial dating, especially with white people.
Mhm.
He has this catchphrase where he's like, black queens forever, snow bunnies never. And
Mhm.
so he said it at Oakwood, right? He said
Yeah.
it at Oakwood, and like
Yeah.
the student body went
I saw that
crazy.
reaction. Yeah. Yeah.
He was like, "Black Queens forever, snow bunnies never." Yo, and that was actually funny. That was actually funny. But I have some very interesting thoughts on interracial dating. Not that I don't support it at all. I am also just very conscious of the racial and social impact, for many of our groups.
Mm.
Um, and so I understand it, but that's not necessarily the reason why I have thoughts on him
Mhm.
necessarily. I think I have different, because I think there's levels to woke. And even though the Republican Party and conservatives have kind of sort of made woke seem negative
Mhm.
recently, like being woke is not bad. Like I don't care what Trump or Elon Musk or any conservative who is dumb says. Like you need to be woke. Okay, you got to be woke.
Mhm.
And if you are woke and more so leftist, you understand the reason as to why Umar Johnson is actually a problematic figure.
Mm.
But that's what I'll say. That's what I've been paying attention to. Really,
Yeah.
like I said, I've been in my
Yeah.
leftist bag, a lot recently, and I've been paying attention to like the fact that the alumni were really coming from like the student leadership who invited him. They were coming from Dr. O, short for Olatunji,
Mhm.
for being the person who was interviewing him and things like that.
Mm.
And I was just like, man, this sucks. Like I don't agree with having him of all
Mm.
people come, but I'm not gonna get on here and be like, oh, what's wrong with this generation, this new
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be like they need to read a book, and probably see why he specifically, not hotepery in general, but
Mhm.
why he specifically, I just made up a word. Hotepery is not a word, but
Hey,
like
it's all
why
good.
he specifically is not the best view or the best commentator on racial issues. And
Mm.
so I just want to say that that's what I've been looking at. But what about you, bro? What about you? What have you
N
been checking out?
No, man, my introduction to, you said hotepery?
Hotepery, yes.
Hotepery, is through comics, like, I love, like, being in the comedian world,
Yeah,
and a lot of the comedians that I listen to, they do, sketch comedy, and
yeah.
one of them, they had a show on HBO, and she had like a all black female cast, and they
Yeah.
all made sketches together. I'm forgetting her name, but she had a sketch with exactly that, where
Mhm.
she is a teacher at school, and then she identifies a student in class that has a father that is like very like pro um um hot hotepery
No.
and no ho
You could really say Pan-African. You could really say
like
Pan-African roots,
mhm,
and I mean
teach
like
me, yeah.
yeah. So
So
yes, I
like
definitely understand.
he
Got
like
got the cap and everything.
the
Got the cap and
cap, the
everything.
beads, the gown, like, everything, and then he walked in, and, they do, like, this whole, like, talk back and forth, and it's so funny, but then
Yeah.
that was, like, my first introduction to, "Oh, wow," and then, having, a elder inside my church, that kinda went through that movement, right, of, like, very li of going back to his roots, and then even going into spiritualism, right, and then coming out of that, hearing his
There, there are different. I don't want
layers.
individuals to,
Yeah, layers. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
like there's this misconception that Pan African immediately equates to
To going.
spiritualism,
Right, right.
and it just doesn't.
It
And
doesn't.
so I don't want individuals to think that, because I've even seen comments where individuals have said, "Hey, doesn't Pan Africanism have like roots and like spiritualism?" And it's just like, you need to read a book. You need to read a book. So
I
yes,
think
go ahead.
well, this is me from outside observing. The
Mhm.
individuals that I have seen that are the prominent speakers, or I guess the ones that have the loudest voices in that sphere, I think they've gone through that journey, right?
They're more so Muslim
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
than than spiritualism,
Mhm.
and chakras and energies and things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
You find a lot of people who believe in God, like Malcolm X.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't believe in Jesus.
Yeah. 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 It's like this journey, but then more recently, I was reintroduced to it through I think, Drewski did an episode, right, with and
He did.
and I was watching that thing, and I was dying, I was dying. I saw, like, a small clip, I didn't watch the entire thing 'cause, like, I not sure how long it was, but I saw, like, a good, like, minute clip of it, on Instagram, bro, and I was
Could have been
dying.
love.
I was dying, I was dying. I
Yeah.
was like, at first, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like a sketch, right? And then I was like, "No, this is who."
I mean, it is obviously just entertainment. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
Because if you saw who won, you're like, oh, this is really just for chucks and giggles. Like it is not at all like serious
No, no, no,
at
dude.
all.
He did an episode with that the guy that came
Dr.
to
Umar.
Oakwood. Yeah,
Yeah. And like when I tell it's legit. It's not.
yeah. I was like,
Bro,
"What are you
it's
doing?"
not serious. It's not serious, bro.
I was dying, I was dying. I was close to sending that to you, but now that I know that you're on Instagram, like, what's the point?
It was on YouTube though. You know,
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah,
like because the episodes air on YouTube.
I catch the highlights on Instagram. I think that's what happens
Mhm.
here. Yeah. Yeah, but, for me personally, I've been, seeing a lot of, I've been in the space of trying to improve the production quality at church, and the worship, um, excellence as well. And a part
Mhm.
of that is kind of just being exposed to different production techniques as well, and
Mm,
seeing what the right way to get good sound at church is, because we want to make that our core at church, having good sound.
mhm.
And when I was going through that, I started getting a lot of failed like people in worship trying to do some things and then it not working out. So on Instagram, there's this profile
Oh,
called Worship Fails.
yeah.
And the reason I phrase it that way is because it's not a fail in the sense that like, oh, you try to trick and it didn't work, right? It's more like, hey, you were in church, you were ministering, and then what you did didn't work out the way that you thought it might have worked out, but people still kind of ended up leaving blessed. So I hesitate to call it fails because I don't think that that captures it. I think it's more of a, hey, this is a learning moment not to do that, or practice again before doing that technique or run again, where a lot of it is just singers trying to hit a note and they can't hit that note, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like I think there's this one where a camera operator kind of trips on stage and then he is like tripping,
Sheesh.
falling continuously all the way across the
Sheesh.
stage. And,
Sheesh.
and I was just like, it was so
This
like, I hate
must have
laughing
been
at it.
was this a mega church?
No, it was like a local church,
Okay.
and he just kinda trip falls, and what I mean by that is he's continually tripping and falling across the stage from one end to the other on camera on the wide shot, and it's like a quick, like, boop, 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 and then he's, like, continuously falling across, and I was just dying laughing, like,
Yeah.
not at him, but kind of imagine being in the space and then seeing that happen, it's so distracting,
Yeah.
right?
He said it's
Um,
so distracting.
it's just like,
Yeah.
what the heck? Like you're thinking about some things in worship, and then you see that happen, you're just like, okay, I guess I have to now ignore that. And one of the things that popped up that we talked about in another clip, and another episode, but we were talking about how one Baptist pastor had brought up a individual, right, that had gotten pregnant in front of the entire church, and that came out of a reel on Instagram, right? And we kind of talked about why it why that is not a great method of dealing with things because of a lot of layers of it not being correct. Um,
Yeah.
but another thing popped up that I wanted to share with you and just kind of get your reaction on,
Yeah.
is, Marvin Sapp. Well, actually, I'll play it and then we'll talk about it because I think
Okay.
it number one, as a pastor, I think this is hilarious because
You said. Okay.
because you can see all the faces of the people behind him, and
Yeah.
then you also know that this is coming out of something else, as well. So I'll play it, and then let's have a quick
Understand the
reaction.
cost that is involved. There's 1,000 of you. I said, close them doors. Ushers, close the doors. Close the doors. Close the doors. It's 1,000 that's watching online. This is a small seed. If I get 1,000 online to give this, if I get 1,000 in the sanctuary to give this, that's $40,000 tonight. Now, everyone up here, we've all sold and seeded, but I need everyone standing up here with us, with me, to plant a seed of $100.
So it ends.
Because again, it costs to sit up here. And this is what I need you to do. If you're giving electronically, or even if you're giving tangibly, I'm gonna have y'all come to the altar and give it, because I need to see 1,000 people moving. Bring them baskets. I want the baskets up here. I want to see the folk. Y'all start moving. Y'all can bring it right now. Come. 1,000 people need to give $20. 1,000 people need to give $20. 1,000 people online need to give $20. This is easy, saints. And they understand the.
All right, man. All right. So
Understood.
first of all, do you want to watch that again? No.
No. I don't want to. I cringe. I cringe just a little bit. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cringe just a little bit. So, and I the only reason why I cringed, last year I actually went to an Easter service on Sunday at a local apostolic church in Baltimore. One of my friends, she was singing there, so just went to support her. But I also was just in a very like Easter
Mhm.
spirit and vibe, right? I just wanted to be in church that weekend. I think it was like the first time that I really was in like the church Easter spirit. Because growing up, being Adventist, we didn't celebrate it. We kept talking about it being a pagan holiday. And so it would just come by, and I judged all the people who did celebrate it in any way.
What's a
So
bunny gotta do with the resurrection, you know?
listen,
Yeah.
like, but I guarantee you at my church, we were coming up with parallels to how like the bunny was a representation or a symbol for something pagan. Like we had it down packed, bro. We had it down packed. We had it down packed. But I remember at this church, they were having a concert, and one of the individuals who was a guest there, he identified, he shared a goal, a vision, a mission to go and to take a choir across the seas to Europe and to sing, right? And he identified that, hey, in order for us to go, we need a certain amount of money. Like when I tell you, he held the audience captive for about 15 to 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes trying to raise funds
Mm.
so that he could get the individuals to like sow a seed
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
like the people weren't coming, and like he was saying, I'm not getting off this stage until I have 35 people who show me on Cash App. They got to show me that they've sent the funds in. And so it reminds me of that. It reminds me of that. And what it reminds me is that different denominations, right? Different faith traditions just operate in different ways. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But on top of that, and I say they operate in different ways because I've never seen anything like that happen in the churches that I've attended, right? Um,
Mm.
and that's one thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's just the in the churches that I've attended,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Unless it was like a special occasion. And from my understanding, this was a special occasion. I believe that this was a convention.
Mhm.
And so, if anything, it kind of sort of reminds me of like a alumni weekend at Oakwood.
Mhm.
Because we don't celebrate Easter. We always have our alumni weekend on Easter weekend.
Mhm.
To give the Adventists something to do. Weirdos, right? We're weirdos. And we always like there's always a portion where they raise funds. They ask the
Yeah.
alumni to donate and to raise funds. And so it like from that perspective, I get it. I get it,
Right.
and so I did hear about this a little bit, and I did at least hear one, this happened last year.
Mhm.
This isn't something that happened this year. And then
Mhm.
two, I also heard that this wasn't like your typical worship service.
Right.
It was
Right.
it was a convention of sorts. Um, and so I will still say I've never been to an event where a person did this, like, except for the apostolic church that I went to last year
Yeah.
for Easter.
Mhm.
And what I learned from that is that different faith traditions, different denominations, their culture is different. It is
Mm.
not the same as Adventist culture, at least not the Adventist culture that I'm used to,
Right.
you know. And so I said, hey, they operate in different ways. I will also say this, I was talking to my new pastor, senior pastor, Dwayne Fraser, and
Yes.
my God, and we were talking about like areas that I could grow, and I was like, I've never done like a capital fund, I've never done like
Mm.
like a fundraising effort at a church, and one of the initial things that he shared with me, he was like, part of it really is personality, you know, and like what I saw just now from Marvin Sapp, great guy, great
Mhm.
worship leader, got hits for days. What I saw from him was it like personality wise, it rubbed me the wrong way. It rubbed
Mm.
me the wrong way.
Mhm.
Like I don't know how much I would want to give with him being so forceful like that, and I rather in my eyes that came off as a little too aggressive. That's beyond assertive, and that leaned into aggressive.
It did.
And so those are like my initial thoughts,
Yeah.
just from watching it. Like, if I was on stage, I probably would have been like,
Bro, the people behind him were like, "Oh, we're gonna be giving $100." I did not, like,
he said something to the effect of, it costs to be up here.
yeah,
It costs to be something to the effect. Not, I don't remember if those were the exact words, but
it's close, yeah.
essentially, getting up here, being up here is a privilege.
And
You
he's
know,
not wrong, right? Like a lot of what he's saying, and you said it, is not incorrect, right?
yeah,
Like it is a privilege to be up there, all right? And
yes,
it does cost to be up there, right? Like it not in the terms of you have to pay to be up there, but your time, your effort, your energy, right? And if you are up there, right, as a leader or as an elder or as a deacon or something, right, your giving habits are already different from anyone that's already just there because you're held to a higher standard, right? So
hmm
he's not wrong in that it costs to be up there,
hmm
but it's just that next step that he takes, right? And Doc Peeler also says this about capital projects, right? Like he says, like, hey, if we're asking the church to give $500, right, per family, you be the first one to do that. So
hmm
if you're asking for, so like in this case, right, he's asking $20 a person, right? Like you be the first person to give that money,
I
right?
mean,
You be
he said 100. He said 100. Like,
right. So if you're up there, right, and you're the one asking, like you got to give $100 because you're up there with the people, and then $20, and then a bit more because you're setting that standard. So you're right. Like the context is different. It's not in worship, right, or in the traditional sense of church worship, right? It is a bit different. And what's hard for me as I listen through it is that I understand where he's coming from, right? Like as a leader, I think we both understand where he's coming from. Like there's a
yes.
project, it's on your heart, and you know that if you could just kind of get a little bit of buy-in, right, it can really do something good for your church community. In the way that he did it, I think I agree with you as well, right? It was kind of way past assertive, and for me, even if you are a part of a different church tradition that does it differently, like I understand that. So to pause on that thought and pick up somewhere else that connects, there are traditions that we have that are traditions, but that doesn't mean that they're good traditions.
Mhm,
And I think this is one of those traditions that
mhm.
we might need to go and take a look back at and say, hey, I don't think I think it worked at one point, but what does that come out of? That
Mhm,
comes from positional abuse, right?
mhm,
Like you don't know and I don't know how much people respect the title of pastor. They might not like you and me, and they might not like the way that we operate, but they respect the positional authority of pastor.
mm, mhm,
So you can go ahead and take that in, right? And then use that as an advantage that they'll respect because you're a pastor, but you never want to take advantage of that. And I think in this instance, I think he's taking a little bit of advantage of where he is. Again, I don't know the full context. I understand what he's saying and it makes sense, but I think it's the extent that he goes. It's like he starts here, yeah, makes sense. And then he goes, and you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And you're like, wait, huh? Hold up. And then
So I yes, I'll say this one. If we're breaking down everything, he's Marvin Sapp,
right,
right? Marvin Sapp got clout for days. Okay,
crazy, yeah,
he got, and so it's kind of sort of like how, like, individuals who've pastored for a certain amount of time, they can do things that people who have not pastored can't do. Um, and like, or yes, in addition to preachers, Like there are certain comments, remarks that a person who got a whole lot of social equity and social cachet can say that individuals who might just be starting off, you can't say, right? And so like I give it grace because of that. I give it grace because of that. But I also want to give it grace because of the fact that one, whoever put this up, they obviously did it in bad faith,
Right,
right?
right,
They
right.
obviously did it in bad faith.
Because it's
Like this
cropped
happened.
in that. Yeah, yeah,
Like it was like it was a year ago,
yeah.
and it wasn't crazy a year ago. And so obviously whoever is doing this is just trying to like cause some stuff. And I saw a pastor. He one of our coworkers. He actually talked about this in a post, and he said like, the problem isn't necessarily what he did, but it's really like the history of like
Mhm.
the Christian church as a whole. Because like there have been leaders within the church who have abused their power
Mhm.
and who have taken the money taken money away from poor people, especially
Yeah,
prosperity gospel preachers, and asked them to sow seeds. And there have been individuals who have literally given $500 or $1,000 when they did not have it because of promises that ministers, I don't want to call their names, but that ministers of varying degrees have made promises about if they indeed had made that sacrifice,
yeah,
and they've lost money. That messes with the reputation of the church. That
it
messes with
does.
the reputation of the church. Like I said, for me, the only thing that really is like I'm cringing, is like the tone,
Mhm.
like, you know and I don't know what was going on at the time. If My understanding of it being a convention, that lets me know that there were probably various moving parts. There were
Mhm.
probably vendors outside. There were probably other sessions, and so he probably wanted to get everyone like together. In
Right,
addition,
right.
whenever there's money, you lock the doors anyway, right?
That's
Because
true. That's true. Yeah, yeah.
like I want to put that out there. You lock the doors because
Anyone
there
can
are
come and
crazy
grab it and
people.
go. Yeah,
Like there are
yeah.
crazy people. So like you lock the door, like, and this is something that a lot of people probably don't know. But like most churches, they lock the doors and they guard the doors during that time,
Mhm.
because collecting offering, your church is probably at one of the most um fragile places that it could be in at that moment. If
Mhm.
a person is really trying to rob you,
That's the best
like,
time. Yeah,
it's one of the easiest times to do it,
yeah,
because you know that people are giving monies, people are giving this and they're giving that, they're opening up their pocketbooks,
yeah.
and so that you understand, hey, this is a prime time where I'm going to see wallets, where I'm
Mhm.
going to see some purses, and if I want to strike, I can strike now. So what does the church do to help with safety? Because most of our churches don't got the money to either have, or don't have the money and don't have the volunteers to either
Mhm.
have security, paid security, with the right resources,
Mhm.
or they don't have like the people who can volunteer to possibly stop a robber from trying to
Yeah,
make an exit.
yeah.
And so a lot of times what happens anyway, you lock the doors. I'm not saying that that's what his meaning was, but we
But
don't
it's
know.
not breaking with right, like it like again, right? Like it makes sense what he's
Yes.
doing, right? Like if you're in that space, it makes sense because you're just like, yeah, like this is protocol, I guess, right?
Yes.
But again, you're right. It's the way at least the video was clipped together that it does not put him in a good light. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's and like you want to charm people more than anything else. You want to charm them. You want to,
yeah,
yeah, hey everyone, you're looking so amazing today.
right, right,
And
right.
if God has blessed you to be able to be here and you've been blessed by what you have seen thus far, listen, want to let you know that this cannot be done, and future projects cannot be done without your investment. you
Yeah.
know, and so there's a more charming way to go about
Yeah.
it, but
Yeah.
it's also it's a personality thing. It's a personality thing.
Mhm.
Some individuals are more forceful, right? Some individuals are more charming.
Mhm.
Some individuals are more dry.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm cringing not because I disapprove of him doing it. I cringe because, like, I've been forceful like that in the past. And
Mm.
I know how being forceful like that negatively impacted me and my relationship with my people in the past.
Mhm.
And so I'm cringing and I'm like, ugh. I'm because I can only imagine how his people could possibly respond to it. Not
Yeah.
that they would be responding in the same way, but how they could be responding. And so that's how I see it. Yet once again, you know, this would not be a problem. This wouldn't be an issue if at large, if there weren't, I don't want to say so many, because like America is a Christian country, right?
Yeah.
If there weren't some individuals who have been harmed by the church and who
Mhm.
have been manipulated by the church.
Mhm.
And I don't want to say the church, by ministers,
Yeah.
corrupt ministers at that. And so I think that there are so many different things that kind of sort of just adds to this conversation. And so, yeah, man, I know not to do that. I know
Yeah.
not to do that.
Like, the last thing I'll say is that because this video was put out more, or this clip was put out more recently, but the actual instance happened a while ago, right? Right? The individuals that were there didn't go out of their way to cancel him, right? So I think it kind of speaks into, hey, like it happened, and there's been good enough space between then and now that it kind of helps us to kind of put it into perspective a bit as well. So I'm not um like super like trying to get like into it, because the people that were there, they left that space, right? And it didn't become a whole big big thing as well as I kind of think through it. But it being clipped together that way, you're right. Like, it
Yeah,
does not put him in a good light. And I think for us as a reaction, especially in our climate right now, right, it's just crazy. So
I don't want to
yeah.
say our climate right now, and here's why. No matter what social media said, the country voted for Trump.
Mm,
Like, like the country voted for Trump. The
mhm,
country voted for Trump.
yeah.
Um, and just because my timeline says a particular thing, it doesn't mean that another timeline says the exact same thing. And
Mm,
all that I mean by that is there are some individuals who think that because TV makes fun of Christianity,
mhm,
they think that Christianity is under attack in our country,
mhm.
and it's not.
It's not, yeah.
And so I just want to push up against that and say that I don't think we're in a climate where our church is being persecuted.
Mm,
Like, we're obviously like leaning more so towards conservative values, Christian values. You see this online,
mhm.
with uh the more hegemonic household,
Nationalistic,
or
yeah,
like
yeah,
these things are being propped up, like where you have things like trad wives really becoming a thing. And if you don't know what a trad wife is, just look up trad wives, traditional trad wives, and
yeah.
you'll see a whole bunch of
They
women
got
who
the
are married,
baking video and the raising the kid. Yeah, yeah,
like no jobs, stay-at-home moms. Nothing wrong with that, by the way. We support it,
yeah.
right?
That tone was
Like, we support it. I just
Yeah,
want to say,
yeah. Yeah,
but
yeah.
the reason why I kind of sort of have issue with it is only because there's a certain group of people who are backing this to say that this is the way.
Right.
And no, it's just a way. It's a
Mhm,
way. But there's a certain group of people backing it and saying, hey, this is the way that you're supposed to live. And if you're not living like this, it's problematic. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
And so I just want to push back and say, I don't necessarily think that we are in a space where we're in a climate where things are so crazy. In addition, even if we were, it shouldn't necessarily be a problem, because America was never meant to be a Christian country. It was just supposed to be a country where you are free to practice your Christianity.
Mm,
That's how it was always supposed to be. Why? Because this is the land of the free.
mhm.
Like you have the right to pursuit of happiness. You have the
Happiness.
right to pursuit of your own religion,
Mhm,
the pursuit of your own values, as long
mhm.
as it doesn't hurt other people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you want to worship snakes, I know you said there's a video about snakes that you wanted to show me. Like if you want to worship snakes, I mean, okay,
No, no, no.
like
It's
as long as like, and I know that the video that
yeah,
she
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to show
yeah.
me is not about that. I'm just
But
like
you
just
can, right, within our
like
constitutional framework, whatever. Yeah,
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 like you can, and that's one of the most amazing things about the Constitution, which apparently we're not following anymore. Uh, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, that's the only pushback that I got.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
No, I
thank you,
receive it.
Marvin Sapp.
I
I
receive it. Yeah.
I receive it, and I don't know if I will ever have the same positional power as him one day,
Right.
you know.
Right.
Um, but I know what not to do um, if I do get to that space. If I do get
Yeah.
to that space,
Yeah. Yeah. And people still listen to him post
of
that convention,
course,
right? Like I don't
of course.
like I think the outrage has just been overblown. It's just like you don't understand the context, you don't understand what happened, da, da, da. And again, different traditions. So I think it's more like, hey, like let's just take a step back, right? And if you're in that space, you do know what exactly went down. But if you're in any positional type of authority, or positional spot in the church, and you've had to do a giving moment, you can understand the the complexities is the word I would use of that the church runs on faithful givers and on donations, right?
Yeah,
And it's like balancing that out. That so yeah, man. I know that we're kind of pulling back, or the veil, right, from what kind of that world looks like. And as I think about some of the things that we have to deal with, some of the challenges, right, that was a part of my initial upbringing in the church, that I would see the giving portion. And at least in my home church, it was a moment where they would always harp on the building fund of, hey, we have to pay off our mortgage, we have to pay off this, we have to pay off that. And then in that moment, it would almost be like, hey, like you are being unfaithful in everything that you do if you don't give towards the building fund.
yes.
And the pastors would go into every home in their visitation. They're being faithful, but then saying, hey, you don't want to forget about our giving fund. Oh, no, our building fund, right? So that's, in case you don't know what that is, right? You have your tithe, 10%. You have your offering, 5%, right? And then
That's
that's
if
if. That's it.
yeah,
I'm just saying that's like the general, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah. Practice.
guidelines, right? Yeah. And then you have your building fund after that they put at 2% or 3% at this church,
Uh,
right? So you're talking like 17, 18, almost 20%, right? That you're investing, and your tithe and offering, we traditionally and biblically kind of put separate. Tithe more than offering, and then building fund is just for this particular thing on top of all the other things that you're going to be giving to, right? So for me, hearing that as a kid, hopping on it every single Saturday during service, like
it's
I
just
was just like
to manipulate people into giving, bro.
I was like, hey, and it got to the point even now that people tune out completely,
Yeah.
where it's just like, hey, like I'm gonna hear the same thing over and over again, right? And I can't give anymore because I have to pay for. And if you're doing this in the traditional model, right, you are doing tithe, offering, things on top of that, Christian education, right, which is very expensive, and then on top of that, you're eating healthy, right, which is vegetables are more expensive, right? So
Are
like
they? Are they?
they are, bro. Like
Are
you
they?
could like
They-
it's the time, the effort, and the money of buying um food. So like I'm just saying, like if you're following the model, right, it's just kind of hard then to ask more. And it's fine asking more, right? Because, you know, it's us having to give, it's our lifestyle, bel it's what we believe in, but in that context, it became a little bit toxic,
Mm,
where it was so harped on
mm,
that some roles were only available, right? Like being on the board or being whatever, right? Based on how much you give, not how faithful you are in giving, which is different,
certainly,
right?
certainly.
So if you're meeting, hey, a standard of a faithful giver of tithe and offering, right? That's different than you being weighted against someone that could give $1,000 for tithe and $100 for tithe, right? And then it just that being a different playing field where like tithe, like the offering, the finances of the church, I've seen it go from very healthy, and when it becomes a priority,
Mhm,
it becomes a point of discontent and a point of
mhm,
conflict. And then it
mhm.
goes from a healthy church to a non-healthy church when finances become the center point of the church, man. Like I've seen that twist happen.
And you know, it could be it's a stressful thing. Like when money is funny, like it's stressful for
Whew,
so many different people, right?
say that
And
again.
so when money is funny, right, right, things can get a little froggy. You feel me?
Mhm.
And so like it's very important, you know, to be able to find balance because a lot of times it's not even just pastors, but it's individuals who kind of sort of bring their own personal way of dealing with money and finances into the church as well. Because depending on how you deal with money and finances, and your personal walk, right, it'll bleed over into how you deal with the church. And so if
Yeah.
your person is just like, yo, we can't have any debt whatsoever. Like I don't want it. Like no
Yeah.
debt is good
Ramsey.
debt.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
Dave Ramsey, like if
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
just like, hey, we got to pay this off now. You want an LED wall? No, that's not a necessity. That's
That's a
we don't
want.
that's that's a
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Like and so
Yeah.
like we don't need that. We need to pay off this mortgage.
Yeah. Cancel
Like
every program until the mortgage is paid off. Yeah.
listen. And
Yeah.
so like if you're thinking like that, then you're going to bring that to church. Likewise, if your person is just like that isn't like the end of the world. That is going to be there until I die. Like if you're going to bring that to the
So
church,
Imma
and
just keep
so
adding to it. Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and so like having those two different groups of people like come together, that could be stress. That could be stress. And so like being able to really navigate that situation, especially as a pastor or just as a member in general, it could be it's interesting. It's
Yeah.
interesting. And I'll also say this one thing: there are so many broke people in our churches.
Yeah.
Like, and when we're consistently asking for more money, and if we're like shaming people, like into
Bro.
giving more money, saying like there are a number of people in our churches we don't even know it, you know, like
They're struggling.
uh they don't got jobs,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
consistent jobs,
Yeah.
right? And I think, you know, depending on where you grew up, you might not get it, right? Because I know like you and I, we have different like church experiences
Mhm.
growing up. You went to SASDAC, that was one of the more established churches. I know that church looks great.
Yeah.
My home church is something different,
Mhm.
right? It's different. It's you gotta most of the people at that church did not have college degrees,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Not saying that college degrees are a standard or a correlator between how much money a church or a person is making, but typically, if you got a college degree, you're probably going to be able to have a good
Better
job,
off in terms
right?
of yeah, income.
Like we didn't have lots of doctors, lawyers, you know, stuff like that,
Mhm.
teachers, you know, at my job at my home church in Baltimore, and so like there were several individuals who were giving, but they were really like scraping by.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so consistently hearing, hey, you're not being faithful. You're not trusting God if you're not giving, if you're not giving. And I'm gonna challenge you to give. And it's just like, yo, I don't got any money like in my bank account. So are you telling me that I need to pay the church? Are you telling me that I need to give tithe and offering rather than pay my light bill? And that I need to trust that God is somehow, some way going to drop money into my life so that I can pay for my light bill? Are you telling me that I should choose the church over my kids and my light bill? You know, and I've seen several situations. Where individuals have done that, and they listen to like some of like the stories, the blessings that some individuals have on stage, and they're like, hey, maybe it'll work out for me in that same way. And it did. It didn't, bro. It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't. And so I agree with you on the concept of faithfulness. Over what was you said faithfulness over what?
I got no idea. Faithfulness over what? Over,
Because you said it's more important to be faithful in your giving than to be something.
being faithful in your giving than how much you give.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like just being faithful in your giving. Like even if it means 50 cents. I don't know. I don't know if I can tell a person to give to the church if they can't take care of their own household. Growing up, I saw it. I saw individuals encourage people to go to Adventist school and say God's going to take care of you. God did not. They had to leave and they had to go to public school. I know individuals who encourage my mom to put us through. My mom literally had to use credit cards to make so that I could graduate my last year. And if it wasn't for the fact that like she was willing to really just strap down and just sacrifice so that we could indeed get by, I wouldn't have been able to finish, dog. That's not faith.
Yeah.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
And so to the Marvin Sapp situation, I get what he's saying. I get it. I think you can say, hey, there's 1,000 of us. Even if we have 200 of us, there's 1,000 in person, there's 1,000. Even if we have at least 200 people who can commit to 20. If you can't commit to 20, can you commit to 10? If you can't commit to 10, can you commit to 5? If you can't commit to 5, can you at least just give us $1? Give people options, you know? Because you just don't know people. Like there are some individuals who come to conventions or who come to certain trainings on the hope that whatever is going to happen is going to be like this life-changing thing. And they take that calculated risk, knowing that they don't got much more to give. Right. And I'm sure that if you talk to individuals in a particular way, if you meet them where they are, they'll support. Yeah. You just got to give them a choice. You got to give them a choice. You got to do it in a healthy way. And so I said a lot just now. So you're right in the sense, like I agree with everything that you said. It's making sure that when we're asking people to give, it's in context, right? Like it's making sure that number one, God meets us where we are. Yeah.
Right. So if you're starting off with not giving any tithe or any offering, right, the next step is saying, hey, how much are you willing to give? Right? Because we understand that it's a discipline, it's a spiritual discipline to prioritize God. And this is just one of the ways that we say, hey, this is one of the ways that financially we can put God and make him a part of our finances, right? So it's like, hey, if you can't give 10%, right, because you have to pay our cards, you have to pay off this, your car, your kids, it's like, hey, how much are you willing? Because we do see a form of it being a spiritual discipline. So it's having a
Can I add a step before that?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not willing to give 10, how are you? Like, can we help you organize your finances?
So that's exactly where I was going. Because a lot of it, right, is not that I can't give, right? It's based off my current plan and the way that I'm operating, I can't find it anywhere, right?
Yeah.
When really, if a lot of us go back and check how much we spend, what's going in it and out, there's maybe not be a lot of flexibility, but there's a little bit of flexibility in our spending habits that we can go back and check and then say, all right, instead of spending this much on food, this much on watching here, this much on this thing, right? Like there's a way that we can kind of go back. And the church, I think what a healthy church does is it offers those plans based on proper discipleship, right? I
Yeah.
think it falls within that. And this all comes out of that small video, bro. But what is so amazing?
One video.
One video. But what's so amazing that about it is that it speaks to so much layers within our church that
Yes.
that one thing popped out of. It popped out of
Yeah.
it finds its roots in a lot of different things. And I'm just happy that there are people that are understanding of where and how it happened, but also moving forward, right? It's like if we're ever put in that situation, or if you're watching or if you're listening and you're ever put in that situation, you kind of know how it's received,
Yeah.
right? It can come from a good place. And that's what I got from the video is it can come from a good place, but how it's received is 50% of putting the material together, bro. It's crazy.
Yes. Very
Crazy.
true. Very true.
Crazy.
Very true. Very true. Very true. And so, yeah, man, this was really nice. This was really nice. And man, we didn't even use scripture. And so I hope like there's not like anyone out there just like y'all didn't even use scripture. Like we're talking. Like calm down.
Yeah.
But
also I think you and I on that, it's like if two doctors are talking and then they have to quote every single paper that they read, right?
Yes.
It's like, no, between two doctors, you just know the terminology, you know the things in between. So for me, it's like we both know the text for tithe and offering. We both know the idea, the discipleship, what it means to our churches, the finances and everything else, because we've been a part of it, right? So I think for us too, there's no reason. But if you're watching and you're not in it, and you haven't done the biblical study of tithe and offering, where it came from, its process within the first layer of our church, and then how it is right now, and the process that we got historically into this structure that's very different from Baptists, Pentecostals, AME, and everybody else, right? If you don't know that, then we can get into it, I guess, later. But I think for us too, we just kind of know the context behind it. Yeah,
certainly. And we're more than willing to really talk about it. To really talk about what the Bible says about it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but this is a very practical view. This is a very practical, everyday living view of these concepts. So certainly we hope that you enjoyed this discussion, this episode. We hope that if you did watch that video, that you didn't judge too soon, because we don't really know the full context, as it was obviously clipped purposefully and shown a year later. So there's honestly a lot of really different takeaway points that you can take away from this discussion, from this video in it and of itself. But we're just grateful that you indeed joined us for yet another episode of the Two Young Pastors podcast. Once again, I'm Jajuan Sanders, and I'm joined by my friend, my brother, Elijah Stanley. And we are just looking forward to seeing you all next time. Please like the video, share it with someone who you think could benefit from this conversation, especially if this is something that's up their alley. So listen, we hope to see you soon, and have a good day. Peace.
Peace.